Hi everyone. Today I am teaching for metal casting process. Hi, I am Vijin JS, Assistant Professor, Emmanuel Research JJ College of Engineering, Natalam. Metal casting process. What is metal casting? One of the oldest and most manufacturing process suited to simple and highly complex shape applicant to almost all metals and alloys, ferrous and non-ferrous, used across automotive, aerospace machines, tools, pipes, and values. Art, boldly classified as extendable mold, sand, cell investment, and permanent mode die centrifugal process. Sand casting process. Two sequence of operation. First one, pattern making, model preparation, course setting, pouring, sandification, shakeout and finishing. Pattern making, breakable part is produced in wood, metal or plastic. Mold preparation, capped and ramped with the prepared molding sent around the pattern. Core setting, core placed to form internal gravity hollow feature. Warning, modern pattern fund through care runner and get into the activity solidification, casting pools and solidified inside mold, shakeout and finishing, casting removed, cleaned, filled and inspected, sand model to components and terminology, wood metal boards that hold and support the sand mold consist to hoop and trunk pattern. Pattern activity impression left in sand after the pattern is withdrawn gives the casting its space. Spiral vertical passage through the which molten pattern enter the mold from the burning pan is. Runner and gate. Runner distribute metal horizontal gate. It is final entry point to the gravity. Riser, reverser of molten metal that feed the casting to combust for stringage. Core and core print. Core forms internal hole feature core print is the sheet that allocate and support the core. Types of pattern to overview solid and single piece pattern, split pattern, match plate pattern, cope and track pattern. Solid and single space pattern, simplest form made in one piece used for simple shape produced in small numbers. Split pattern made in two holes along the parting line, one off in hope, another in track for moderately complex space. Match pattern, hoop and track pattern mounted on opposite side of a metal plate, used for mass production with machine modeling. Hoop and track pattern similarly to split pattern but each of mold on a separate plate used for large heavy casting. Types of pattern to special forms. Loose piece pattern, gated pattern, seed pattern, skeleton pattern, segmental pattern, follow board pattern. Loose piece pattern has projection that would abstract withdrawal. Loose piece are removed separately after the main pattern. Gate pattern. Several patterns joined with attached gate and runners used for small casting produced in quantity. Seep pattern. A shaped board rotates about a spindle generates cylindrical space. Example, large circular section. Skeleton pattern, a wooden frame outlining this space, filled and struck with a struggle board, economical for very large casting. Segmental pattern, a segmental of a circular space rotated about a central point to build a full circular mode. Floorboard pattern used a wooden board to support the within pattern during ramming. Pattern materials wood, easily worked, light, low cost but absurd mastering and has limited life. Used for simple batch production. Metal AICI brass, high dimensional accuracy, long lives, smooth surface, ideal for large scale repetitive production. Plaster Paris used to increase shapes and investment precaution pattern easy to cast about fledge. Plastic, lightweight, corrosion resistance, good surface finish, increasable used for medium runs. Vats used extensively for investment casting melt out of leave the model activity. Thermocol used in full mode loss form casting pattern vibrates during wrapping. Pattern allowance why they are needed. There are three points. Ensure the final casting melt. Record dimensional accuracy after cooling and machining. Composite for the behavior of stand, melt metal and molding without process. Final principle allows shrinkage, machining dropped, restoring and snake trapping. Pattern allowance to types and purpose. Allowance, purpose, remarks. Shrinkage allowance, composite for construction of metal on cooling from sandification to room temperature. Remarks, varies with metal. Example, higher for steel, lower for CI. Machining allowance, extra machine left on surface to be machined to achieve accuracy by finish. Depend on casting size, metal and method. Trapped or taper allowance. Split taper on vertical space for easy damage to free withdrawal of pattern. Internal surface need more draft than external. Distortion allowance per component for mapping of irregular shape casting. Example, UV shape. Remarks, applied opposite to state distortion in direction. Shake by ramping allowance. Purpose negative allowance to pattern wrapped before withdrawal enlarge gravity silently. Remarks reduce size of pattern numerically. Modeling sand to composition. Silica sand. Clay moisturizing by water additives. Some key ideas. Silica sand. Main constitution 85 to 92 percentage produce refractoriness and forms the skeleton of the mold. Binder. Mortality of fire clay 5 to 12 percentage bind some grains together and import strength when moisturized. Moisturized water add 2 to 8 percentage to activate the clay binder and develop binding plastic. Add additives, colon dust, wood flour, cerebral bender, etc. improve finish, collabilities and predators. Key idea molding stand is a mixture engineered so that it can be rammed into at gravity, hold its space, and withstand the heat and pressure of molten metal, then happens easily to shake out. Types of molding sand: green sand, dry sand, luminous sand, facing sand, backing sand, coarse sand. Green sand, sand plus clay plus mastering is not dyed, most common, economical, used for general casting. Grey sand, dry sand, green and mold dried in bone higher strength used for large, heavy casting. Loam sand, high clay content up to 15% applied as a paste used for large circular molds like pipes. Facing sand, fine and sand used to nest to the pattern surface for good surface finish to of the casting. Backing sand used to back up facing sand and fill the rest of the flask after reclaimed sand. Core sand, silicon sand with a strong binder used to make cores. Molding sand to essential properties: probability, flowability, green and dry strength, refractoriness, probabilities. Probability ability to allow steam and gas generated during purpose escape through the mold. Flowability ability of sand to flow and pack uniformly around the pattern under ramping pressure. Green and dry strength possession of sand grain in the most green, dried state young to retain model shape. Refractoriness ability to withstand the higher temperature of molten metal without fusing or breaking down. Collability ability of sand mold core to collaborate after sandification, easing shakeout and shrinkage. Molding sand to testing method: mastering content test, probability test, strength test, grain fineness test, clay content test, model hardness test. Mastering content test, sample tried and weight before after percentage mastering loss determined. Probability test, air passed through a ramped sand specimen, probability number measured on a probability meter. Strength test, standard sand specimen tested on a universal sand strength testing machine. Grain fineness test, grained sand saved through a test of standard sieves. AFS grain fineness number calculated. Clay content test, sand washed with cassette soda solution to separate and measure clay percentage. Model hardness tester measure surface hardness, compactness of ramped model. Course to introduction and need. Made of strength, collaboration course and often oil or resigning banded. The packed or curved of strength. Localized and support in the model using core print of the pattern. Must possess high strength, probability, refatness and good probability. Types of core. There are six types of cores: horizontal core, vertical core, balanced core, hanging cover core, stop up core, ramp up core. Horizontal core placed horizontal along the parting line, simplest and most common type. Vertical core placed vertical, partly in hoop and partially in track with tapped and core prints. Balanced core supported at one end only when the other end cannot be supported. Cover core suspended from the hoop with no support from track side. Drop core used when the activity is off the parting line extracting down into track. Ram up core mounted and determined directly into the mold along with the pattern. Core print and application. Core print chaplet typically application. Design tip. Core print inserting the pattern that form a seat in the model to allocate support and bend to the core. Chaplet. Milton support used from core point along with cannot be hold core securely fused into the casting. Typically application producing hollow section in engine blocks, pipes, wall bodies, pump housing, main fold. Designing tip. Core print must be designed to safely support and the weight of the core and reset the metabolic force of molten metal during purpling. Machine modeling to introduction. There are three waves: reduce labor cycle time and human variability in large scale boundaries. Produce uniform model, harness and better dimensional readability. Widely used with match plate pattern for high value production. Types of modeling machine: joint machine, sequence machine, joint sequencing machine, Schneider, mold, spack, filter, and dropped repeatedly ancient compound of the sand designed near the pattern. The sequence head plate pressure and sand against the pattern. Descend the at the tapen less near the pattern. Combines joggling followed by sequence for uniform density throughout the model. Sand Winger high speed impeller throw sand into the flask at high velocity used for large mount. Melting furnace, two types used in boundaries. Couplable furnace, introduction furnace, electric arc furnace, resistance furnace, curable furnace, reverbertic furnace. Cupola furnace, vertical slot furnace using coke as fuel, continuous melting of cast iron, economical for large values. Induction furnace use electromagnetic induction to melt and clean furnace temperature control for steel iron alloys. Electric arc furnace melting via an electrical arc between electrodes and charge used for steel making and quality casting. Resistance furnace heat generated by electrical resistance elements used for non-ferrous low melting point metal. Curable furnace melt melted in a curable heated extremely by gas, oil, electricity for small quantities on ferrous alloy. Flame and hot gases play over the charge under low proof used for aluminum and black melting. Cupola furnace principle construction: vertical sheet cell lined with refractory changed in alternative layers of coke, metal, and limestone from the top. Operation: air blown through turbine burn coke, generating heat that melts the reasonably charged molten metal allied and tapped at the bottom. Slag removal: limestone at a splash combining with the impurities from slag which is removed through a separate slag hole. Best suitable for continuous high volume melting of cast iron to featurette in sand casting boundaries for its low operating cost and simplicity. Special casting process beyond conventional sand casting provision permanented mode and pressure accelerated method engineered for accuracy, surface finished and protection rate. Cell molding process. There are five methods: pattern heated, sand invest, cell forms, cell stripped, breakout. First one, pattern heated. Metal pattern heated to 200 to 260 Celsius and collated with release agent. Sand invest. Resin coated sand trumped and blown over the cut pattern. Then cell forms. Heat curves in their recently bonded sand cell 5 to 10 mm on the pattern. Cell scripted curved cell trapped from the pattern, two cell holes joined. Breakout. Metal burned into cell mount, cell broken any after saldification. Investment casting. Loose Watts parses. There are five types: Watts pattern, assembly, investigation, dewaxing, finish. Watts pattern. Watts pattern produced injecting watts into a metal die. Assembly. Watts pattern attached to a central core to form a tree. Investing. Tree coated invest to ceramic try to form a cell. Dewaxing. Model heated to wax melt and grain out leaning a cavity. Furl and finish. Molten metal furnace cell broken away casting cut off. Ceramic mold casting. There are three methods. Pattern. Wood, metal or plaster used to form mold with ceramic silicon based. Mold is celled stripped from the pattern, then fired to develop strength. Used for fabrication tools, dies, impulse, and complex components in steel, tool, and superalloys. Low pressure and gravity die casting. Gravity die casting. Molten metal permanent metal model die under a gravity alone, no external pressure applied. Advantage: good surface finish, fine grain, structure reasonable dies economical from medium production runs. Low pressure die casting. Die positioned above a sealed furnace. Low air pressure 0.0 to 1.5 bar force. Molten metal upward through a riser tube into the die. Advantage: reduced tolerance and porosity, high yield signs. There is a minimum gating riser waste. Till firing high pressure die casting. Till firing, the die dial assembly is titled during burning so metal flows smoothly with minimum tolerance, reducing gas interrupt and outside formation. Advantage of tilling pruning: improved casting quantity, reduced porosity, better control to form with rate within valved components. High pressure die casting. Molten metal injected into a hardened steel die at a very high pressure up to 1000 plus bar. Using piston and bunker fills the die almost instantly. Advantage of HDPC: extremely high production rate, excellent dimensional accuracy, and thin section suited to AA ZN magnesium alloys. Centrifugal casting. Three methods there: true centrifugal casting, semi-centrifugal casting, centrifugation. True centrifugal casting hollow systematic part like pipes, sieves, pressing. Semi-centrifugal casting solid systematical parts wheels cast around a central core. Centrifugation. Several small irregular shaped models arranged around a central core span and added filling. CO2 sodium silicate casting process. There are three methods produced high strength, dimensionally accurate models and codes without banking. Faster than one carrying saves energy widely used for making strong cores. Sodium silicon plus CO2 gives silicon gel which bind to sand grains tightly together. Common defect in sanding casting blowholes, porosity, shrinkage defect, sanding includes cold cut, barrage and cell. Blowholes, smooth rounded cavities used by trapped gas due to low reliability or excess moisture. Porosity, fine gas goes distributed throughout the casting, often from resolved gases in the metal. Shrinkage defect, gravity from inmovable fielding of liquid metal during sandification. Sand inclusion gap. Sand particles embedded in casting are through rough plight in modern surface erosion flaking. Cold cut. Incompleted filling of model activity. Two metal stream falls in fuse fully together. Bare cage or spell. Distortion from unusual cooling, blunting of model, wall cutter and mostly pressure. Casting defect to cast remedies. Defect cast remedy. Blowholes assess monster in low priority poor bending. Control monster impure sand priority and bending. Shrinkage activities in individual rising and feed casting. Provide properly signed and placed error chills. Visceral cold cut, low bearing temperature with section, low bearing. Increase blow fat temperature speed, improve gating design. Sand ingression, weak modeling or handling in SR's monitoring. Increase sand strength, ram uniformly control moisturings. Porosity, dissolved gases in molten metal. Decasement, use clean charge and proper flexing. Thank you.